probably not what you wanted to come home to, JK, but it's great to have you back. We've missed you.
It's nice to be back in New Zealand. Nice to be home. It was great. I had a great holiday. Thanks, guys, for letting me go. But it was really, really interesting for me to watch from afar. It was like a neat time to actually watch from the outside.
A neat time?
Well, it is.
I'm holding you responsible for everything that's happened from the moment that you left to the moment you've returned, and you need to explain is what you need to do. But in all seriousness, it's great to have you back because your perspective on what you've seen from overseas, but also from us, we've been living it day to day over the last few weeks in Mills. I don't know about you, I didn't sleep very well last night. I found it difficult in Christchurch. It was obviously a really challenging night for the All Blacks, but I'm a bit of a loss about where we're at right now. I really am.
I think the majority of New Zealanders are. I think frustration. I think there's a bit of frustration, obviously, with the result, but also how we play. And given the talent that we've got, and also how they played in South Africa, considering where they got to last night. I mean, I think that's probably what's frustrating me the most. I'm a bit like that too. It's kind of like, oh, man, this again, JK.
Well, I think, did you guys get carried away after the South African game? Because I was watching from afar.
So you're going to hold us responsible?
Yeah, I think it's your fault,
You're going to hold us
Goldie.
responsible for getting carried away?
I think it's your fault. Yeah, I think we all got a little bit carried away with one win. Okay. So, and it was an amazing win, and it was done on passion and courage and commitment. But if you are wobbling, you can't change things that quickly. And for me, there's still a disconnect between the NZR and the players. I think what happened while I was away was amazing to watch. I come back to three things that Ian Foster, I believe, needs to look at. Selection, our kicking game, Mills. And when I say our kicking game, our attacking kicking game when you're playing a team like Argentina. And if you looked at that game yesterday, it was exactly the same loss that we had last year. So under pressure, what is happening with our leadership? So are we practicing under pressure decision-making? Because it looked a little bit like, whoa, yesterday. And then we made some really critical errors. So, I think we need to be a little bit more balanced after a win, which you guys weren't after South Africa.
That's what you will bring back to us tonight.
But the preparation for me as well, and it probably goes back to your point, JK. We probably got a little bit too excited, and perhaps some of the players in South Africa and didn't come back down to zero and restart again.
I want to talk a little bit about what process is, Goldie, because I hear the word a lot, but I think
different to preparation.
Well, this is what I'm trying to understand. What is preparation? Because I think if you go too much process and you don't bring the heart and emotion. So what was the difference between pre-South Africa, the first South African test, and the second one? Was it emotion? And what did we miss in the second half last night? So I think there's a balance. So what is preparation? I think it's the balance between understanding your opposition, knowing your game plan, and I think there is some preparation around what's happening when we're under pressure. Do we have a second game plan when our first game plan doesn't work out? But you've got to bring, every test match is your last. And I think what's happening lately, some people are starting to realise that, that they're going to get dropped. It's going to be their last. But when you go into a game like that, every test match should be your last. So you've got to be careful. And so I would like to start hearing what preparation is exactly.
What I'd like to say is that it's clear that the sample size for this coaching group is far too small. It's been one test match. So I'm not prepared to look at the way they're performing, the coaching staff. I look at the key and pivotal moments in games right now, and we're not winning those. We were in control of that test match. I think we're up by 6 points. We're up by 6 points. We miss a singular kickoff, which leads to them going in front. And they're a team that, if you give them belief, and in the first half, we were in control of that test match. The only opportunities they were getting to score points were from our aerial discipline.
I disagree, mate.
Aerial discipline. No, we were in control of that.
We weren't in control. We were never in control.
No, because we were in control of the scoreboard. If you're
we weren't in control of the scoreboard, though, were we? Because our discipline was poor. No. And so if you've got to be 15 points ahead of any side to be in control now. No. And I just don't think we're in control. No, if you're playing Argentina.
If we were, I think
what was the score at half time?
we're in control. Because we allowed them, through our discipline, our real discipline, like you say, to score in threes, but they weren't threatening our goal line. They never looked like scoring tries against the All Blacks.
They don't care, mate.
But they may not care.
They were outstanding. They were outstanding at the breakdown, and they put us under so much pressure.
They played no rugby, and we allowed...
Who cares? Do they care?
Yeah, I know you don't care. And the fact of the matter is, I want to get to this in a moment, about whether or not we need to change the way that we play, given the nature of international rugby right now. If it's about winning, but I look at this and go, you know what? It's once again, when the game is on the line, in the last 20 minutes, which the majority of the test matches this year have been won and lost in the last 20 minutes, we haven't delivered. And that, to me, you can tell, we get frantic.
Yeah.
We lose our patience, we lose our accuracy, and we're trying to win it with one play rather than building, and accumulating the points you need to win. And that's to your point about our line-out started to misfire, so that we missed 3 or 4 critical opportunities. We presented them with soft penalties to build their lead on. Their try was pure and simply about a kick-off error and then 2 missed tackles.
Yeah, and
it wasn't like it was 12 phases and then they scored.
Absolutely, but the problem was we didn't win that moment back.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we got caught. That's where there's indecision within the side. You know, we've just scored points. They come back, they score that, but I think we're disconnected in terms of, OK, we've got to actually play a Super Rugby style of game, this one game plan, to try and get us back, as opposed to being really patient and saying, well, hey, we've got to try and weather the storm for a little bit. And maybe that we just go to the front of the line out just to give us a little bit more momentum and some confidence to be able to get us back to winning those big moments. I think we continue to play a game that is not working, and then we don't adapt. Our leaders aren't adapting. It's kind of like we're hitting everything every single time, the same old game plan, but we don't want to go, OK, well, that's not on. OK, we're getting a little bit of front foot ball, but we're going to tip on because, you know, that's what we're trained to do, and let's play this type of style. No, kick and all be on the same page to then win that moment back again, and it has to hit the ground. We don't seem to be able to adapt on the go, and that's probably a real big concern for the coaching staff.
You talk about leadership. Do the players need to take some responsibility for what's going on for these results, JK? Are the All Blacks carrying passengers?
I think selection's a really big issue moving forward. I think some of the... What are the positives? Let's not take anything away from Argentina.
Yeah.
That's how they play. I was expecting that we would have a different type of game plan against them, but it was a repeat of last year, which was a little bit disappointing. Some real positives are, you know, we've got some young guys coming through. They're starting to play OK. I think there's a couple of things we need to look at. Richie Mo'unga often is in the backfield, and then he's catching the high ball, and then there's no one at standoff taking control. I think Havili needs to step into that space. So there's a lot of good things happening, but I think it is a leadership issue. What is going on? Are some of our leaders now, should we blood some young guys in there? Do we need to rest Kane? Do we need to rest Whitelock? I'm not saying that they won't be good enough to go to the World Cup, but we need to start putting some of these young guys under fire. We've lost so many games now, we might as well go, right, let's actually look at a new leadership group. Let's start building for the future. And if we don't do that now, when are we going to do it? Because it's going to be too late. The World Cup is next year. So they're big questions. I said selection is a big question, right? Selection is a big, big question. We spoke about it before, Goldie. You said you've been through a couple of eras yourself where there's an older crew coming. Younger guys are coming through, but we've got to give them... We need Dalton Popoliti to play some games. Nothing wrong with Sam Cane. OK, he's probably not playing in the best form of his life, but we need Dalton Popoliti to get out there, because what happens next year? What's going to happen at lock? You know, we've got Retallick coming back, so do we play Retallick and Barrett this week? You know, what are we doing to say we're building to the future? Because I keep hearing this, we're building. What's the word they use a lot? Mills? Can't remember it. Is it, you know, we're building for the future, or we're making changes? So...
Yeah, and I think it probably does. He's got now, you know, comfort that he's going to go through to the Rugby World Cup. And perhaps was a little bit to my question that he needs to make changes. He needs to see guys out there, as opposed to being, when he went to South Africa, everything was about week in, week out. He has to win, and he has to sort of stay loyal to some of these guys that would perform. And did they? They did. They did that in South Africa. But perhaps now is the time for them to say, now, well, hey, look, we need some selection, you know, some selection changes.
I'd like to say this. So we were struggling at scrum time. What did we bring in? We brought in some young guys. That's not a problem now. Our scrum's outstanding. We've been dominant. held up South Africa, no problem at all, and we had the Pumas under pressure. So our new front rowers have stepped up. Shannon Frizzell has come in and brought physicality, ball carrying, and his ability and willingness to put his body on the line in the 6 jersey every time he gets an opportunity. So that was a question mark we had in that position. So I look at the guys that we've introduced into the starting lineup. Samasoni Tokiaho is there out of performance. Jason Ryan talks about playing remarkable rugby. So I think we need to continue along this path. The next one, is it time for Dalton Popoli to start at 7? Or do we move Adi Savia to 7 to play Hoskins Satutu and find out? Now, this, I think...
Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, remember him?
Well, and here's the thing. I believe we need to be more direct. I think we need to be more physical, particularly through our back line. Our most physical player on the weekend, Caleb Clark. Outstanding. Through the middle of the park, carrying the ball strongly, getting over the advantage line. The nature of the contest, the way the international game is played right now, it's the ability to carry the ball which is winning the day. And we need to get better at it and play players who have the ability to do it.
Is our kicking game good enough?
Well, if you do that, you'll have a good chase line, put the ball in front of these guys, and then defensively, because that's one of our greatest assets, right, is our defence. We were just ill-disciplined in terms of the way we were defending on the weekend.
It's a fine balance. It's a fine balance. So, hey, it's all right when you're exiting out of your own 22, OK? Everyone knows there's some stage there you've got to kick. It's between the 10-metre channels. When as the way we play, we love to spread the ball, we love to keep momentum, but at some stage when there hasn't been momentum, when do you kick? And when do you kick into space to say, well, hey, all bets are off now. We tried 20,000 phases or 15 phases, don't tip on, kick to find grass to then win that ball back. Hopefully, if you find grass, three bounces, kick it back and let's start again. At the moment, between that 10 metre lines, we're still playing and we're still confident. We think we're confident to be able to. We can't. We've got to get to a point where everyone is on. And this comes down to the leaders.
They dared us to counter-attack.
Exactly.
They kicked us the ball and we counter-attacked, and all of a sudden we're on our own 10-metre line, to you say, and we're trying to build and keep the ball in hand. It's time to play the territory game. Our scrum's strong. Force an error. We can scrum for penalties.
On my couch yesterday, I was watching you both. And you were talking about Richie Mo'unga and what a defining moment it was for him last night after a fine performance against South Africa. So is he the answer at 10, or do we put Barrett back in?